Viene Maradona, lo marcan dos, pisa la pelota Maradona. Arranca por la derecha el genio del fútbol mundial. Y es el tercero a tocar para Borruchaga, siempre Maradona. Genio, 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 ta, 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 ta.
I would define talent as
a natural ability or power.
It's the one thing you do better than anybody else.
An undeniable, distinguishable skill set that I think separates the extraordinary from the ordinary.
It's almost a passion that people feel is authentic to them.
It comes from within.
Talent is about the possibility of how talented you could become.
In everything, in how you live your life, how you deal with people.
And you can discover it anywhere.
If people knew how hard I had to work to gain my mastery, it would not seem so wonderful at all. Michelangelo. The talent myth is built on the idea that innate ability rather than practice is what ultimately determines whether we have it within us to achieve excellence. This is a corrosive idea, robbing individuals of the incentive to transform themselves through effort. Why spend time and energy seeking to improve if success is only available to people with the right genes?
Michael Jordan has said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots, lost almost 300 games, and 26 times I've been trusted to make the game-winning shot and missed. I fail over and over and over again, and that is why I succeed." He didn't make his high school basketball team because he was too short and wasn't good enough. He could have quit, but instead he had the mindset to continue and get better. He was practicing each day before most people were EV'd out of bed. And because of this, he not only made the team the following year, but he went on to become the greatest player of all time.
Cristiano Ronaldo, for example. Cristiano Ronaldo is an extremely successful and skilled footballer who's considered one of the best football players in history. He's won over 30 major trophies throughout his career, all because he was really talented, right? You may have also come across Selena Gomez. Talent. What is talent? Talent is a gift one is naturally born with. You're amazing at something right from the beginning. So, if you're born with a talent, your future is set, right? Your future is served to you on a golden plate, for you were born extraordinary. And if you weren't born with a talent, you were just unlucky. You can't achieve anything, for you were born a plain, average human being, and there's nothing you can do about it.
What is talent? Many people feel sure they know it when they see it. As the managing director of prestigious violin school put it, talent is something a top violin coach can spot in young musicians that marks them out as destined for greatness. But how does the teacher know that this accomplished young performer who looks so gifted has not had many hours of special training behind the scenes? As studies have shown, he doesn't know. And most of the time, special training by their parents seems to be the case for their gift. An investigation of British musicians found that the top performers had learned no faster than those who reached lower levels of attainment. For hour by hour, the various groups had improved at almost identical rates. The difference was simply that the top performers had practiced for more hours. Let me say that again. The top performers had practiced for more hours.
Talent. But there's something else, a secret that not many people know about, and that is hard work.
Yo empecé jugando de 5 años en Grandoli, un club de barrio donde todos los domingos estábamos toda la familia, pasábamos unos grandes momentos.
I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. and anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for.
I think that's really important in the beginning, and then eventually hard work is key. So I'd say it's probably more than 50% at that point.
Did you know that Cristiano Ronaldo was first made fun of when he started playing football at the age of 11? Now he is considered a football god, a legend, only because he decided to work harder than everyone else.
I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. I've viewed myself as, slightly above average in talent. And where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. While the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working.
And Selena Gomez once said, "I'm not the best, but I've worked hard since I was 7 years old." She's been practicing with a vocal coach ever since. And what about the fact that Nikola Tesla used to skip eating because of non-stop working in his lab? That's impressive. I can't even go 2 hours without a snack.
Good, but I think my main strength, it's my mind. I think it's my strongest point, it's my mind.
It has been found that a minimum of 10 years and 10,000 hours is required to reach world-class status in any complex task.
An ability has nothing to do with talent. That's a misconception that people often have. Sure, talent is a great thing to have, but it can only take you so far. We look at famous athletes, actors, and singers, and our first thought is always how talented they are. But most of the time, their success is only partly to do with talent. Because what they did to succeed and what you really need to master an ability is practice. This might sound like the most obvious thing in the world, but the shocking truth is a lot of people don't really know how to practice something. And we're not talking about mindless repetition here. No. The key to mastering anything is deliberate practice.
Deliberate practice refers to a special type of practice that is systematic and purposeful. It requires focused attention and is conducted with the specific goal of improving performance. Several things make deliberate practice different to regular practice. Number 1, it's restricted to fields where there is already an accumulated knowledge of effective training activities. Number 2, it involves a teacher or a coach. And number 3, it requires immediate and actionable feedback.
Research across domains shows that it is only by working at what you can't do you turn into the expert you want to become. This is called deliberate practice. So the hours we put in are meaningless if we are not trying to improve on our weak spots. World-class performance comes by striving for a target just out of reach and not quite making it. It is about grappling with tasks beyond current limitations and falling short again and again. The paradox of excellence is that it is built upon the foundations of necessary failure.
I went to teach 7th graders math in the New York City public schools. And like any teacher, I made quizzes and tests, I gave out homework assignments. When the work came back, I calculated grades. What struck me was that IQ was not the only difference between my best and my worst students. In education, the one thing we know how to measure best is IQ. But what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy, we tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. We went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods, asking which teachers are still going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year. And of those, who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students? We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint.
The question that comes to our mind is, can we all learn to have a mindset of a champion? A mindset is a word describing how we think. There are two types of mindsets. One, a growth mindset, and two, a fixed mindset. A growth mindset is when somebody believes they can learn to be good and they can learn to get better. They are not afraid of challenges. They continue when things get hard. They know that they have put effort into learn and they learn from criticism. They are also inspired by people who do well. Michael Jordan has this trait, though another person with a growth mindset is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He was cut from the Canadian Football League early on in his career. He could have quit, but instead he worked very hard, faced many challenges, and is now a super famous movie star, one of my favorite. Did you know that coaches and professional scouts look for athletes who don't just have skill? They want someone who wants to learn, who is coachable, and will give 100% effort in their practices. They want someone with a growth mindset. What they don't want is somebody who thinks they are already good enough, they don't need to learn, and are not coachable. These people have a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is the opposite of a growth. These people either think they're born good or born not so good. They cannot learn. They are afraid of challenges. They give up and get defensive easily. They feel criticized when given feedback and are threatened by people who do well.
We are not born talented. We become better at a certain skill by practicing it. It's not like you have some special gene that makes you a god at playing the guitar, but you don't know that because you never played it before. There are no world-class performers that became world-class without practice. The violinists didn't just pick up a violin and started playing complex symphonies. They had to learn step by step. This is the iceberg illusion. We only see the fruits of labor, but not the hours someone put in to achieve their excellence. Now that you know that the world-class performance comes from the thousands of hours of deliberate practice, you just may one day become one of these so-called talented people.
How do professionals get better at what they do? How do they get great? And there are two views about this. One is the traditional view, that is that you go to school, you study, you practice, you learn, you graduate, and then you go out into the world and you make your way on your own. That's how doctors learn, that's how lawyers do, scientists. Now the contrasting view comes out of sports. And they say you are never done. Everybody needs a coach. The greatest in the world needs a coach. So I tried to think about this as a surgeon. Pay someone to come into my operating room, observe me, and critique me. It seems absurd. Expertise means not needing to be coached. So then which view is right? Turns out there are numerous problems in making it on your own. You don't recognize the issues that are standing in your way, or if you do, you don't necessarily know how to fix them. And the result is that somewhere along the way, you stop improving. And I thought about that, and I realized that was exactly what had happened to me as a surgeon. So I asked a former professor of mine who had retired, his name is Bob Osteen, and he agreed to come to my operating room and observe me. The case, I remember that first case, it went beautifully. I didn't think there would be anything much he'd have to say when we were done. Instead, he had a whole page of dense with notes. Just small things, he said. Did you notice that the light had swung out of the wound during the case? Another thing I noticed, he said, your elbow goes up in the air every once in a while. That means you're not in full control. It was a whole nother level of awareness. He was describing what great coaches do. And what they do is they are your external eyes and ears, providing a more accurate picture of your reality. They're recognizing the fundamentals. They're breaking your actions down and then helping you build them back up again. After 2 months of coaching, I felt myself getting better again. And after a year, I saw my complications drop down even further. It was painful. I didn't like being observed. And at times I didn't want to have to work on things. I also felt there were periods where I would get worse before I got better. But it made me realize that the coaches were onto something profoundly important. I think it's not just how good you are now, I think it's how good you're gonna be that really matters.